It was a Wednesday, late afternoon. Sunlight was dying on the edge of the porch when the knock came. 3 soft raps. Polite. Measured. Like they weren't here to ruin a life. I opened the door and saw 2 officers. One male, mid-40s. One younger. Hand resting near his belt. "Mr. Dalton," the older one asked. I nodded. "We have a court order. You're being placed under temporary removal from this residence. Your wife filed a domestic violence complaint." I didn't speak, not right away. He handed me the paperwork. Black ink on crisp paper. Allegations, times, descriptions, all lies, but well-crafted ones. I remember saying, "You want me to leave my own house?" The younger officer shifted. "Just until the hearing, sir. It's precautionary." The older one added, "It's not an arrest, just a civil order. No contact with your wife until the date listed." I looked past them. Through the living room window. She stood there, holding a coffee mug like it was any other day, like this wasn't her design, not a single tear, not even the decency to look away. I turned back to them. "Give me 5 minutes." I walked into the kitchen. The dog, Jasper, followed me, tail wagging. Clueless, I grabbed a few clothes, my wallet, a charger, didn't pack a bag, just stuffed everything into my work duffel. She was still at the window, watching. "Anything else you need?" I asked, not looking at her. She didn't answer. Jasper whined at the door. I knelt, scratched behind his ear. "Stay, boy," I whispered. He barked once, confused, then pressed his nose to my hand as I stood. Outside, the officers waited. I said, "Where am I supposed to go?" The older one replied, "You can call a friend, or we can help you get to a motel." I shook my head. "I'll drive." I climbed into my truck, slammed the door gently. Just a whisper of defiance. From the driver's seat, I looked back one last time. She was already pulling the blinds. That night, I parked outside an old gas station 2 towns over. The kind with buzzing lights and a soda machine that ate your money. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't cry. I just sat there. I read the complaint again. Each line more calculated than the last. Dates she'd picked. Times I'd been out of the house. Claims with no proof. Just emotion. Just her word against mine. And suddenly it clicked. She'd been preparing for this, those strange questions. What would happen if someone said you got angry? The way she'd recorded our arguments. Making sure she spoke loudly. Played. The victim. I thought it was paranoia. I thought it was marriage stress, but it was prep. She'd been laying the groundwork for months. At 2:37 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from her. "I hope you take this time to reflect. You need help." I stared at it for a full minute. Then I deleted it. No reply. No fuel for her story. The next morning, I checked into a cheap motel with flickering hallway lights and a broken vending machine. The woman at the front desk looked at my bag, then at me. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Just passing through," I said. I wasn't angry. I wasn't scared. I was still, like a blade before it drops. She wanted me humiliated, homeless, defensive. But she'd miscalculated one thing. I wasn't the kind of man who struck back. I was the kind of man who waited. And the truth? Truth doesn't scream. It documents. The motel ceiling had a crack that ran straight above the bed. I stared at it each night like it held the answers I'd been too blind to ask for before. Funny how silence gives you the clearest kind of hindsight. We'd been married 17 years, 2 dogs, no kids. I used to think that meant we had more time for each other. She used to call me her steel wall. Steady. Predictable. She said she liked that I didn't waver. Turns out that's what made me. Easy to lie to. "Babe, you seen my charger?" She'd call from the bedroom. "Top drawer," I'd answer without looking up. It was always the little things. Her voice stayed sweet. Her smile still lingered when she kissed my cheek, but her eyes started moving faster, like she was always somewhere else. I remember the night I noticed the cologne. Was sitting on the couch when she walked in from her so-called board meeting. "Smells like you wrestled a bottle of Armani," I said with a grin. She froze, just for a second. Then she laughed. My rideshare driver must have bathed in it. Gross. Right? I smiled. Let it go. Why wouldn't I? I trusted too long. That's the truth of it. It started small. She changed her phone password, switched our joint email to her personal one, said she was getting more involved at the nonprofit. Late nights, retreats, but she never brought home stories. Never mentioned names, just tired eyes and a locked screen. One night I found her crying in the kitchen. No tears, just the sound. I walked in quietly. She didn't see me. Her phone was recording on the counter. "Why do you always yell at me?" she said out loud to no one. I stepped back into the hallway and waited. 10 minutes later, she turned off the camera. The tears stopped like a switch. Then she deleted the recording. I never confronted her. I should have, but I didn't know what I was seeing. Now I do. She was building a library of moments, ones where she looked scared, fragile, abused, and I unknowingly gave her the space to do it. "You're too calm sometimes," she once told me. "Would you rather I shout?" I asked. She smiled. "No, it's just, sometimes I wonder if you feel anything." I did. I felt everything. I just didn't show it the way she wanted, or maybe the way she could exploit. From the motel, I replayed things differently. The missed calls she said were from volunteers. The receipts she tossed before I could glance. The weekends she said she needed space to breathe. And I remembered the new watch, gold, expensive. A thank you gift from the nonprofit board. Only now did I see the initials engraved weren't hers. I'd always believed marriages don't break overnight. But now I knew. Some people start chipping away at the foundation long before the roof caves in. One night, I called my friend Mark. "Do you remember when we had dinner at our place last year?" I asked. "Sure," he said. "She was weird that night, wouldn't look at you much. That was the night she said she had food poisoning and left the table early. She had her phone out a lot," Mark added. "Didn't seem like she wanted us there." He paused. "You okay, man?" "I will be," I said, because by now the pattern was clear. This wasn't just betrayal, it was premeditation. She'd made me the villain in a play she directed months ago. But she forgot one thing. Don't burn when I'm angry, I wait. And every scene she rehearsed, I'd remember it all, word for word. That night I opened a blank notebook, started writing everything I could recall. Dates, names, smells, words, mistakes. It wasn't just reflection anymore. It was preparation. There's a stillness that comes after shock. Like the hush before a storm, you already know you're going to survive. That's where I lived, between motel walls and early sunrises, between betrayal. And the plan. The first lawyer I called sounded young, too eager. "Let's hit her with a countersuit right away," he said. I hung up. The second told me, "You'll never win. In this climate, just take the hit and move on." I thanked him for his time and deleted his number. It was the third one, a woman in her 60s, who listened the way I needed someone to. "You're not the first," she said. "False accusations have a pattern, and they always leave a trail." Her name was Denise Holt, former prosecutor. Calm voice. Wore her glasses halfway down her nose like she'd seen every kind of lie you could dress up in court. "We'll start with your devices," she told me. "Give me every email, call log, message chain you've got. Don't delete anything. Don't respond to her. Don't talk to anyone you both know." "Got it?" "I got it," I said. She handed me a form. "What's this? Authorization to pull financials, joint accounts, credit histories? I'm not just going to prove your innocence, Mr. Dalton. I'm going to prove motive." Back at the motel, I dug out an old hard drive from my work truck. It held backup footage from the home surveillance I'd installed back when we got the place. She always said I was paranoid. Funny, turned out that paranoia paid for itself. Scanned through hours of footage, saw her pacing in the living room on calls, saw unfamiliar cars parked outside on nights she told me she was working late. I clipped every moment, time-stamped, stored. I wasn't just reliving memories anymore. Was building a timeline. Next, I hired a private investigator. He was retired NYPD. Name was Roland. Didn't talk much. Just nodded, wrote things down, and asked for payment up front. 3 days later, he handed me a manila folder. "This is the guy," he said, tapping the photo. "Drives a silver Lexus. Works in commercial real estate. Married. 3 kids. He." Flipped to another page. They meet Tuesdays and Fridays. Motel off Route 6, and this? He tapped a photo of a rental cabin surrounded by pine trees. This is where they go when they don't want to be interrupted. I didn't say much. "You want me to confront him?" Roland asked. I shook my head. "No, just keep watching, and send me everything." One Friday I drove to that cabin myself, parked 100 yards away where the trees thickened. I watched. The porch lights flicker on. Saw her step out barefoot with a wine glass in hand. She laughed. A sound I used to think was mine. Then he walked out behind her, hand on her waist. They disappeared inside. Lights went off. I sat there in the dark. Didn't cry, didn't scream. Just noted the time. In 14 p.m., Denise and I met every Tuesday in her office. She reviewed the evidence like she was grading homework. Never smiled. Never winced. "You're doing good," she said once. "But we'll need a witness, someone who saw things change, friends, neighbors, anyone you trust." I thought about that. Then I called Claire. Claire used to work with my wife. They weren't close anymore, but she always liked me. She met me at a diner, ordered tea, and said, "She told me last year that she was going to start over." I thought she meant a career change. I showed her a photo from the cabin. Claire's face went pale. I never thought she'd go this far. "Would you testify?" I asked. She looked at me. "I will." She's not the person I thought she was. One night I sat outside the house, not to stalk, just to remember. The porch light still flickered like it always had. Jasper barked once from the backyard. That sound hit deeper than I expected. I missed that dog more than the woman inside. Back at the motel, I printed out my final evidence packet. 3 copies, labeled and bound. Denise looked them over and said, "She doesn't know what's coming, does she?" "No," I said. "She thinks she already won. There's a difference between revenge and truth. Revenge is fast, emotional, messy. Truth is patient. And that's what I had now. Not anger, not despair, just truth. And enough of it to collapse everything she built. The morning we filed was overcast. Not stormy, just gray, steady. I remember thinking that was fitting. It wasn't the day everything blew up. It was the day the quiet war began. Denise slid the counterclaim packet across the table. Her fingernail tapped the cover twice. GPS logs, text chains, call history, surveillance timestamps. She wanted a case, let's give her one. I nodded. And the voicemail. Already submitted, the court has it, transcribed and time-stamped. She leaned back. "You ready for this?" "I've been ready since the second I walked out." That front door. We filed the documents at 9:14 a.m. By 3 p.m., her lawyer tried to call for a resolution meeting. Denise smiled when she read the email. "Classic move," she said. "When they realize they've underestimated you." A few days later, the court granted subpoenas for bank records and the home surveillance drives. Denise called me. She had a second account, she said. Under her sister's name, $22,000 transferred over the past 8 months. I closed my eyes. That's where the vacation money went. "She told the judge you were controlling," Denise added. "That you kept her from financial freedom." I didn't even laugh. It was too predictable. Then came the voicemail. It was short, 15 seconds, her voice whispering into the phone. "We just have to get through the hearing. Once he's out of the picture, it's ours." Denise played it, twice during prep. Each time she paused at the end and said, "She really thought you'd roll over." Her attorney tried to delay, filed for an emergency continuance, claimed emotional distress and lack of access to key files. We pushed back. The court denied it, and that's when things started to crack. Roland, my investigator, sent me a message. Her guy's wife found out. He included a photo, a handwritten letter addressed to me. "Mr. Dalton, I'm sorry you were dragged into this. I had no idea. Thank you for the truth. I'm taking my kids and leaving." Marlene J.I. kept that letter. Still have it, tucked in. A drawer beside my discharge papers, two sides of the same coin, what I'd fought for, and what I wouldn't let anyone take. The week of the hearing, her tone changed. A text came through. Short, strange. I just want peace. Can we talk? I didn't reply. Not because I was bitter, because I already had peace, and it was built on evidence, not emotion. In court, I wore a navy jacket and my old wedding watch, not as a symbol, just routine. I sat straight, hands folded, face calm. She cried, wore white, told the judge she'd been afraid, said she never meant for it to go this far. Denise didn't flinch. Your Honor, she said, we have over 200 pages of evidence to review, but I'll begin with the audio recording. She hit play. The room went still. I watched her face fall. Her lawyer whispered something. She shook her head. Denise kept going. Surveillance clips, email chains, financial transfers. Every lie she'd layered came undone, line by line. At one point, the judge looked at her and said, "Do you deny making this statement?" She blinked fast. I don't recall saying that. It might have been taken out of context. He nodded slowly. You said, once he's out of the picture. Please explain the context. Silence, just air and shame. When it was my turn to speak, I kept it brief. I didn't come here to hurt anyone, I said. I came to clear my name. That was it. No accusations, no gloating, just the truth. The court ruled in my favor. False claim dismissed, restraining order lifted. She was ordered to repay the stolen funds. And her job? Gone. A code of ethics clause at the non-profit made sure of that. Outside, Denise shook my hand. You handled that better than most men I've seen in 20 years, she said. I didn't want to fight, I told her. Just clarity. She smiled. Well, now you've got both. As I walked down the courthouse steps, a breeze hit, light clean. My phone buzzed. A message from Roland. It's done. He's moved out. She's alone now. I didn't reply, didn't need to. That chapter had closed itself. Justice doesn't need volume. It just needs the truth, and someone patient enough to wait for it. The courthouse smelled like old paper and cheap coffee. I arrived an hour early, sat outside in my truck and watched the sun rise through the windshield. There was no rage, no nerves, just stillness. Inside, the waiting room buzzed with attorneys and their clients. Voices low, anxious. Spotted her before she saw me. She wore white. Hair done, makeup soft. A practiced victim for the cameras, I thought. And sure enough, a local reporter stood near the entrance, snapping photos through the glass. Denise leaned toward me. She brought a crowd, she muttered. Let her, I said. This isn't the trial she thinks it is. We entered the courtroom at 9 a.m. sharp. She sat with her lawyer, whispering rapidly. He looked worn down. He knew what was coming. The judge took the bench. Gavel dropped once. Call the case, the clerk said. And then it began. Denise stood, calm as ever. Your Honor, we're prepared to present evidence contradicting the initial abuse. Claims supported by subpoenaed surveillance, financial records, and a recorded statement made by the plaintiff. Her lawyer shot up. Objection. That recording was obtained without proper. The judge held up a hand. Sit down, counselor. We've already ruled on its admissibility. They played the voicemail first. Her voice filled the room. We just have to get through the hearing. Once he's out of the picture, it's ours. The courtroom went dead silent. Not a cough, not a shuffle. Just the weight of her own words. Next came the financial documents. Denise flipped through pages. Here we see monthly withdrawals from the joint account totaling over $22,000, redirected to a secondary account under her sister's name. The judge raised an eyebrow. She stated in her complaint that she had no financial independence, he said. That's correct, Denise replied. Yet she was transferring money into a shell account for nearly 8 months prior to the complaint. Her lawyer fumbled for damage control. She was emotionally manipulated, he said. Financial fear often leads to secrecy. The judge nodded slowly. And the cabin outside town? The screen behind him lit up with photos. Her and the man from the Lexus, arms around each other, wine glasses raised. I didn't move, just kept my hands folded. Then came the final blow. A subpoenaed testimony from her lover. He appeared via video call. Did she ever indicate she was in danger? The judge asked. No, he said plainly. She told me her marriage was over, said her husband was controlling but never violent. She said she needed a reason to push the divorce through faster. Her lawyer looked like he'd swallowed broken glass. She covered her mouth like she might cry again, but the tears didn't come. The judge sighed. Mrs. Dalton, do you deny authoring this text message? He read it aloud. Once the court believes I'm scared, the house is mine. She didn't answer, just stared at the table. Her attorney leaned over, whispered something, then stood. Your Honor, we'd like to request a recess and propose a settlement. Denise nudged me gently. Don't say a word. The judge leaned back in his chair. No, this court doesn't settle deception with silence. Judgment stands. He listed it all out, point by point. False abuse allegation, dismissed. Restraining order, vacated. Home ownership awarded to me. Repayment of misappropriated funds, enforced. Ethical violation reported to her employer. Confirmed. Her shoulders dropped. Her lawyer packed his bag like a man leaving a funeral. She didn't look at me. Couldn't. Outside, she stood by the stone steps, pacing. I passed her without stopping. She said, I never wanted it to go this far. Paused. Just for a moment. You did everything but light the match, I said. Now you don't want the fire. She looked down. You could ruin me, she whispered. I shook my head. You already did that to yourself. Denise caught up with me at the bottom of the stairs. You could press charges for defamation, she said. I know. So, I looked at the sky, wide, open, quiet. The world saw the truth. That's enough. I signed the final papers. That afternoon. No celebration, no drinks, just ink and closure. The clerk handed me a copy and said, You handled yourself better than most. I nodded. Some things don't need noise. Later, I walked past the news van still parked outside. The reporter tried to ask me questions. I didn't stop, didn't give her a soundbite. That night, I sat on the porch of my rented cabin. Jasper curled at my feet. I held the letter from the other man's wife, her thank you still etched in my mind. I didn't win because I fought. I won because I waited. And in the end, she exposed herself. It's funny how quiet land feels different. Out here, the wind doesn't carry traffic or sirens, just the rustle of trees and the occasional bark from Jasper chasing birds near the creek. This is where I rebuilt. It's been a year since the court. Doors closed behind me. 2 states away now. New zip code, new job, smaller house, bigger sky. The farmhouse sits on 6 acres. Nothing fancy, just space and silence. The kind I used to be afraid of. Now I wake up to it. Jasper's older, slower. But he still waits at the door every morning, tail thumping like clockwork. You ready? I ask him, cup of coffee in one hand. He wags. We walk the same trail each day, down past the barn, over the wooden bridge I built myself, and up the ridge where the pines grow tall and even. One afternoon I had a visitor, neighbor from a mile down, retired firefighter named Bill. He leaned on the fence and nodded at the property. You do all this yourself? He asked. I nodded. Needed something that couldn't lie to me. He chuckled. Well, wood don't lie. We talked about soil and weather for a while. Nothing deep, just honest. In the evenings, I sit on the porch with a cold drink and Jasper curled by my boots. Sometimes I stare at the old wedding photo I keep in the drawer next to my bed. I don't display it, don't take it out often, but I keep it. Not to remember her, to remember me, what I walked away from, what I survived, what I'll never accept again. People ask if I ever heard from her. I didn't. Not directly. Heard through a friend that she moved again. Took a job at some startup. Keeps. A low profile. Do I wonder if she ever thinks about what she did? Sure, but not often, not enough to matter. A few months ago, a letter came, no return address. Inside was a photo, a child's drawing of a house and a dog. In crayon and a note, "I'm glad he has you." Signed, Marlene J.I. stared at that drawing for a long time, didn't realize I was smiling until Jasper nudged my leg. Sometimes peace doesn't come with answers. It comes with space and silence and the decision to stop bleeding for people who sharpened the knife. The last words I remember from that courtroom were the judge's voice. "You're dismissed, sir. Not guilty, not broken, just free." I stood in the mirror last week, saw my beard grayer than before, hands rough again from the lumber work. But the man looking back, he wasn't angry, wasn't bitter, just present, alive. Every morning I light the stove. Every night I lock the doors, and in between I live on my own terms. That to me is the only revenge that ever mattered.